At Your End Step is brought to you by Comic Town and BCW Supplies. Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Mike.
Hello.
And we have another fun-filled episode for you folks this week. Sorry about, a little bit of, life getting in the way of art, as sometimes happens.
That's might be. That's might be.
But, some of us have started back into a regular swing of things of normal life and doing some extracurriculars.
I feel like that was a pun.
What? The swing of things?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I guess technically with what you're doing, that was unintentional, but still worked. So nice. So we had to miss a few, but that's all right. It just means we have even more to talk about. So we obviously have a bunch of community stuff to focus on for this week. We have some competitive stuff, but a lot of it is going to be modern, which is, really has solidified into a pretty expected sort of metagame. So we'll talk about the tournaments for a little bit, but what we really want to focus on is Guilds of Ravnica and the upcoming, standard format and what we're kind of already thinking about as far as what could be potentially good or potentially what we're already working with brewing wise, because we have Star City Games Columbus coming up in the beginning of October. That is obviously a team event, so one of those seeds is going to have to be standard, so we're kind of needing to figure out what that looks like. So let's get started here, and first we're going to talk about the Vivian Reed story. So we have parts 2 and 3 to kind of that serve as an introduction to this character, so that assumedly, and this was kind of pointed out in the by the Vorthos cast, so if you haven't taken a listen to them, we encourage you to do so. So they don't have to do it when she shows up, in another set randomly, maybe in Ravnica, perhaps. And that serves to sort of, allow a better storytelling experience for that current set. So we don't have to do these random character introductions. We already know who Vivian Reed is by this story. And I know that you are pretty invested in it. So what have you thought? What did you think about it?
Honestly, I really enjoyed it. I thought that Vivian was a pretty interesting character. Again, I think they're still setting her up to be a villain, and she at times felt red-green as a character as opposed to just like green, because she got pretty angry. She gets real angry. But most of that is in relation to animals being tortured. Specifically a Monstrosaur, which is a giant dinosaur, that she absorbs into the arc bow and then releases multiple times, which was pretty great.
Yep, she's like one of them Pokemon trainers.
Yeah, actually, we actually have an announcement to make. She is also coming to Smash. I don't know if you saw the Nintendo Direct or not, but Vivian Reed confirmed for Super Smash Brothers.
All of them. They're all here.
but it was pretty interesting. The one thing I will say, and I don't know, like obviously there's a reason she didn't, but whenever we get stories like this about planeswalkers who are being, because we had a couple where planeswalkers are in prison for some amount of time, and that confuses the hell out of me. I'm just be honest. It's just like I know she doesn't want to lose the arc bow, so she doesn't want to leave it, but at the same time, it's just like planeswalk away and then planeswalk back. Like sometimes the rules on that feel a little bit weird about like where they can where's the entry point and exit point, but it just seems like leave.
Yeah, that is definitely tricky. I would like a little bit of, because at least with Nightcrawler, like we knew how that worked. Like he had to have been there. He had to be able to see it.
Not always true.
Not always true.
I saw X2.
He just got lucky. All right, everyone gets one. All right, he just got lucky.
Yeah, they don't. Every other timeline, he was just in the metal wall.
Yeah, correct. No, he just fell to his death.
But I just it's just one thing I don't understand. And honestly, a lot of times the authors go out of the way to make a rule for it. Like they're being I think was it the locked cage or whatever it is? There's the energy trap from Kaladesh. Like in the storyline when that happened, it was like their mana was being suppressed because Baral knew that they were planeswalkers, or something like that. Or not Baral, Dove, I don't know, whatever. But like here, it just doesn't, like they kind of figure out she's a planeswalker, but no one ever says anything. So it's ostensibly she could just be like, "Oh, I'm in this torture room. I don't want to be anymore," and that is confusing to me. But beyond that, the one thing I do want to say is that they did set her up for another story. the last thing she does after she essentially destroys this entire city, like she's like it's pretty great. She says she wants to get a Shivan dragon and goes to Shiv. Like the last thing she does is planeswalk to Shiv. So
yeah, she's like, I heard that Shivan place got all them dragons.
gotta those cool dragons. I gotta get one. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that they kind of showed you a different city under the control of the vampires from Ixalan, because the city that they are in, the Borthos cast and the writer alluded to it being more like a French inspired sort of city instead of the conquistador conquerors that we see in the set. We actually get to see like what one of their strongholds, for lack of a better term, kind of looks like.
I kind of forgot about that because like they even mentioned that like on Ixalan there's a whole other continent that like the vampires have already conquered. I didn't even think about that. Like that's true, they said that, but we didn't really get any looks into it. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, but again, to have like a deeper dive into this with people that aren't me, because I think Mike can hold his own, but not me. Definitely listen to the Borthos cast, and they got a couple new hosts, a couple new co-hosts, and one of them is one of our fans. So we want to make sure that we give it a shout.
Yeah, I think we got that reciprocal love. Adam TG Lord of Leaves has always kindly laughed at my jokes, even when they probably weren't funny. So I tip my hat to you, sir.
Yes, a tip of the hat. Welcome to the game. You're now our enemy.
Yeah, get out.
We are rivals.
You're already probably better than us, so what the... now we hate you.
So the next thing that we want to talk about is something that is... it's something that is something... I keep saying something. That is close to our hearts, because we are sort of building it in our own community for our close personal friend group, and it's called the Brawl Invitational. This is...
I gotta stop you. It's not the Brawl Invitational. It's the Brawl Invitational.
The Brawl Invitational.
Because like I noticed you named the Discord channel that, and it's wrong because it's replacing the Inva part. It's Brawl Invitational.
Brawl Invitational.
Jeez,
it's just
you did that purposefully. You monster.
I have a hard time not saying that and saying like I'm just saying Brawl Invitational.
It's not the Brawl Invitational.
as some sort of brawl competition we're
Morgan's
having.
doing some weird March Madness stuff. Don't tell his wife. What are these bras attached to this board?
Why is there a bracket?
They're duking them out.
Anyway, it is a brawl-focused, multi-format technically.
Oh
tournament.
Yeah. Oh no, we're doing everything.
So this is going to consist of 1v1 as well as free-for-all games. And it's going to function similar to an actual invitational that Magic used to have, in so much as we're having a auction for decks, which is going to be a lot of fun. But it's going to be just eight of us getting together on a Saturday and duking it out.
Now you may be asking, okay, why are you telling us this? Because I think that if you haven't looked into, I hadn't even thought about an auction, like a Magic auction, in years, but there's some good write-ups about how it functions, and it's awesome. So essentially all of the decks that are possible to play, we already have deck lists for them. We've been working on them. When you come in that day, when you're putting your order, you get to bid on decks. So you can come in with an idea of like, okay, I want this deck to play it. What are you willing to give up? And the auction works like you give up starting life total or cards in hand or both. So like I'll bid, you can brawl 1v1, you start 25 life, I'll bid 20 life, or I'll bid 19 life and 6 cards. You know what I mean? And a card is worth more than life, and you go from there. And that's honestly the part I'm so excited about, because like it just feels really cool. So, and the winner of our Brawl Invitational gets to make a card that we will deem legal for Brawl for the next year.
Yeah.
So,
more than likely a commander of some persuasion.
Yeah, well, I think that was the goal. I apologize for not being clear. And what's funny is we were trying to sort of like figure out the rules for how, like, if we do a 4-player matches, how we came up with 90-minute rounds. We talked about how to do extra turns, and then it occurred to me I should just tweet at Gavin Verhey, who confirmed 90-minute rounds, 1 extra turn per player. We were like, oh man, slam dunk, just nailed it. So I encourage you, like, if you're a person who likes some of these formats, like, try some stuff like this, because that's the one thing that we, as players locally, I think we've been lucky with. Morgan talks a lot about our friend, former host Dave, his cube, and we've done the Cube Invitational. I'm a 2-time champion, as you probably all know.
Yep.
Soon to be Brawls. I'm got a lot of honorifics, to be quite honest.
All right, we get it, Bells and Lock.
Yeah, it's good. Wait,
Archduke.
Archduke Franz Bells and Lock. Duck.
Did story spoilers did not work for him.
Did not work for him. Yeah, weird. But either of them, honestly.
Yeah.
Ooh, we got World War I humor up in here now. What other podcast can offer you that? But yeah, I just want to share it. Look into the auction format if you haven't done it, and if you have like a local event. I know Q, obviously you're drafting your deck, but if you have anything with like pre-constructed decks for any reason, you're just like having fun. I know some people like to do like modern or like legacy tournaments that way, where somebody has a box of decks and you just like divvy them out. Do the auction format. Like,
yeah,
I think oh man, I'm really excited for it. So,
this is like if you have like Pauper. I think Pauper is also probably a really good
100%.
format to do it in, just for the sheer fact that you could just have a multitude of decks and not necessarily feel bad about it. But you know, it's this weekend, so we'll share the results if you know, anyone notable on this podcast wins. Might be me, probably Mike, but might be me.
It is possible.
Yeah, you never know.
Hey, you know what's coming up this weekend?
Other than our awesome tournament,
I honestly just want to talk about Brawl Invitational again.
I know Worlds is also
okay.
happening this weekend. So
I hope you liked our bit.
The Magic World Championship. This is where 24 of the best of the best, the cream of the crop, come in and try to compete to be world champion. To be
they try to be the world championship. It's weird because they become the trophy.
it's awkward, yeah. But this is.
Do you remember that year that Brian Braun-Duin spent literally with a scream plastered across his face as he contorted into a human trophy, and the joy that he experienced when he was freed,
when he was released? So this is going to be happening in Las Vegas, and it is going to be streamed for the world to see, of course. So if it's something that you want to check out, this is actually where the team championship is going to be happening too, right? Where the two top teams of the team series get together and duke it out for the. I'm using that as a verbal crutch because you said it. Compete against each other to win.
You just don't like saying it out because it makes you think of the profit.
Win the team series for the year of 2018. But yeah, this is it's kind of weird because it's got Dominaria booster draft as well as what is it? Is it what is there a constructed format?
Yeah, hold on here. So it's 3 rounds Dominaria booster draft.
Standard constructed.
And
I
then
say now.
Standard, yes. So then standard construction. And then the Team Series Championship is Guilds of Ravnica Team Sealed.
Heck yeah.
No, hold on here. Hold on.
No, don't ask questions.
Stop. Hold the phone.
You're asking questions.
Morgan, I need you to hold this phone. So, why are they doing Dominaria Draft, but the Team Series gets Guilds of Ravnica?
Would you accept because as an answer?
Survey says, because it's weird. Number one answer.
Number one answer.
So
actually, only answer.
No, I get it. Like Dominaria is technically a draft format that all these players have played a lot. Can still play on Magic Online and Arena, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it does seem weird that we've got 2 dead formats.
Yeah, it also is like what. So there's still like money on the line for the team, championship.
But they're just gonna wing it.
You're gonna get the whole spoiler on Wednesday, and then figure it out.
And then they're going to
enjoy enjoy trying to practice this format. You can't.
So 3 rounds of I think Guilds of Ravnica Team Sealed, and then 2 rounds of. Am I reading this correctly? Fallen Empire's Rochester draft. I don't know. I guess they found them in the vault. They were like, "Here we go."
Yeah,
Magic's 25th anniversary.
You can find the Fallen Empire's pack like anywhere on the street, in a garbage can.
Oh my gosh,
this is pretty weird. I do think that maybe they could have pushed this out a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, it just seems weird to they obviously had their date set. But yeah, they definitely could have, this could have been guilds and this could have been, it's just weird it's not modern. Why is it standard? It doesn't make sense.
I don't get that. I think as much as modern has been going on, I'd rather watch it than any standard tournament.
That's it. They're desperately trying to be like, no, look, like this is a weekend at Bernie's. Literally, like standard is Bernie. Like, look, no, seriously,
It's standard. He's alive.
he's right here. He's got cool sunglasses.
Look at
and
him.
a lot of chains wrapped around his body.
Don't worry. He's used to being on fire.
He came here in that crashed vehicle.
He's always smelled like that.
Oh God. I don't like that at all. Now, to be fair,
too dark?
that's flavorful though, because Chandra smells bad. That's an actual plot point. So there you go.
There you go. We did it.
Dirty red mages, I guess. I don't know. Take baths.
They're so brash.
They're so brash. They're just so.
They ain't got time for baths.
I thought about a bath, but then I thought no.
Never.
Oh, man.
Water's the antithesis of fire.
I can't put myself out. I'm like a Charmander over here.
I'll die. You want me to die?
I want that to be in canon. I would like Chandra saying that and just like somebody else like just being like, no.
No, that's not how any of this
Like
works.
that's not no. Okay, that happens. Johnny says no, and then we get an image of a large cat dunking an upset human in a bathtub.
Oh man, that's the ultimate reversal. Let's do it.
I like it.
All right, someone who's far more artistic than us, do that. Figure that out. Put it on
man.
Tumblr. They'll love it.
And you know that Chandra hates Mondays. Anyways, should we talk about the competitors?
Sure. We have the list of 24 names here. We have Brian Ronduin, Marcio Carvalho, Wyatt Darby, Javier Dominguez, Reed Duke, Ben Hull, Martin Yuza, Gregors Kowalski, Seth Manfield, Andre Mengucci, Matthew Nass, Brad Nelson, Gregory Orange, John Rolfe, Luis Salvato, Matthew Severa, Shahar Shenhar, Mike Sigrist, Ben Stark, Jerry Thompson, Owen Turnwald, Elias Walsfeld, Alan Yu, and Ken Yukihiro. And those will be your 24 competitors at the World Championship 2018. If anyone wants to cut,
pretty good names there.
Yeah, if they want to cuss that out and send it on to WotC, so they can just play what I just said, and maybe cut out the double Gregors Kowalski. Forgot the Z at the end of his name. Very important. But yeah, a lot of notable faces, including like Shahar Shenhar. Did you see this picture of Shahar on here? He looks like an adult.
Aww,
like a grown up man.
Look at that. Man, I want to mention, if we're going to mention pictures, I want to mention Seth Manfield, because that guy is definitely advertising some sort of beer. I'm not sure which one, but it's just like, it's probably Dos Equis based on that. It was just like, look at him.
Yeah. But this will be a fun tournament to definitely take a look at. It might be a little dry as far as, the constructed portion, but I mean, Dominaria Draft is always fun to watch. Draft at the very least. But it will be cool to watch actually the team series, because it's the first time you'll get to see, first time you get to see Guilds of Ravnica cards in action. So maybe that portion you might want to tune in for. As well as if you, I guess technically the pre-release is the first time you'll actually get to see that happen, and that's going to be on Wednesday of this week, which is going to be hosted by Load and Ready Run, and have some notable faces as well. So if you really want to see it, and that's why we're getting the spoiler so early, it's because that's happening. So
that's pretty good. Hey, thanks everybody.
Yeah, thanks for having that awesome event, and also gives us cards super early. But yeah, so we are going to talk about Guilds of Ravnica, but we actually want to save that till last. So we're going to jump a little bit into competitive, talk about just slightly touch on the tournaments that happened over the weekend, and then we'll kind of get into the meat and the potatoes of the show here. So before we do that, I do want to give a shout out to our lovely sponsor, Comic Town. They're going to be hosting pre-releases, of course, on the weekend of the 29th. You can contact them to guarantee your spot, and you do have to pay your guild. This is something they're going back to, is having a seeded guild pack. So if you have a particular guild you want to play with, and that you're closely associated with, definitely be sure to get in contact with them if you're going to play at Comic Town to secure your spot. So
I know you want to move to competitive, but the more I keep looking at these Worlds pictures, I just want to do like high school senior superlatives for all of these. It's just like most likely to steal your girl, but you won't be even mad about it. It's Reed Duke.
Yeah, it definitely.
Let me hit you with one here, and you tell me if I'm crazy or not. I want you to see if you can pick this out. most likely to win a Mike Myers lookalike contest?
Is it Ben Hole?
It's not. It's not
Okay.
Ben Hole.
All right,
Come on, keep going.
Let me take a look here. I, there are a few.
I know, but there's
name.
one.
I don't know. You're gonna have to tell me.
It's Ken Yukihiro.
I knew. I was like, oh, is it Ken Yukihiro? It probably is. I don't want to.
He just got those glasses, man.
Well, yeah. I can see that. Yes, that is after scrolling down. That is where I did go to. Didn't necessarily want to call Ken Yukihiro out though.
That's what I want for all of these. That's what I want so much. I don't have any other good ones. I apologize.
All right, we'll revisit that. If you come up with something later, you let us know.
That's not a knock on Mr. Yukihiro. Mike Myers is a treasure. A treasure.
He's a very handsome, famous man.
So,
anyway,
he's famous enough that we're mentioning him, but he has been I think he's been hosting the Gong Show. Isn't that what's been happening? There was a Gong Show revival, and he's been playing a fake British celebrity on the Gong Show.
No, I did vaguely remember this.
Yeah, that's the sad thing. All right, hey, so
that's
GP
sad.
Stockholm.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
A syndrome that Mike Myers. Never mind.
It was won by Andre Trotsky, playing Band Spirits, defeating Yo Larson, actually in the finals, playing Blue White Control, and. There's a story this weekend. It is definitely one of Band Spirits kind of showing up and really trying to make its place in the format as being like not just a worse humans deck, but actually having strategic advantage and choice as opposed to like just being another like Aether Vial deck or something like that. And I think, in all honesty, something that has helped this deck is the inclusion of Aether Vial, and not just being a collected company deck, but actually having the actual idea to not play just 4 rattle chains, but actually do the thing that your deck wants to do anyway, which is just have Aether Vial. And I think that absolutely makes sense. I think it's what has helped this deck become more successful than just the regular sort of collected company rattle chains, versions of it. And that was a change that kind of happened. I don't know. Suddenly, it felt like it was overnight. There was the collected company versions, and then suddenly it was like, oh, we're just playing 3 Aether Vials now, and it's like, oh, okay. But I really like it because it is. You're getting some of the benefits from like the blue-white version by switching over to this and not having to rely on sort of a semi-weak creature to give all your things flash. Like you have a sort of hard to deal with permanent to be able to make all your cards just better. I think that makes sense. And with we could even take a look at that in the finals about how Bant Spirits just is a bit better, I think, in certain matchups than humans, and that shows with the blue-white matchup. I know that playing blue-white firsthand, there's definitely a lot of stuff where it's just like, well, like a Terminus just like wrecks your day, or there you don't name the right thing with a meddling mage, and then you just get like blown out, and it's rough. It's just like a house of cards.
Morgan's describing my Saturday. Though I actually beat that opponent, but definitely had all the things you're like, I don't know a name with meddling mage here. Oh, look, I got Terminus. Like,
yeah,
oh, okay, cool.
It's just hard. Like you can only like be so good as to predict what's going to happen. You can't tell the future. And blue-white plays the way it plays because it can play a diverse array of threats that are all sort of do the same thing. But with spirits, you actually can be proactive. You can, first of all, in your sideboard, actually have counter spells if you really want to. You can have things like Unified Will or even Disdainful Stroke, like some people have been playing. But you also have to have this awesome main deck counter spell in Spell Queller. Obviously, it doesn't answer everything, but it gives you enough of a tempo play to be able to turn the corner and finish off your opponent before they can really do you in. And I think like that's a really nice, facet of Bant Spirits, and you get to play a real mana base. Like let's be real, you don't have to play like a bunch of like creature lands. You are obviously still incentivized to play things like Cavern Souls, but you're not playing a full play set. You're playing one, but it allows you to play real sideboard cards. So you get to play the Rest in Pieces, the Stony Silences, which are lights out for a lot of different decks. So I'm glad this exists. I'm glad it's a deck in the format, and I think that it's nice to have different options if you want to play a creature deck that wants to attack.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely looks like Europe needs more Ghostbusters.
Clearly.
Man, I know we're not going to spend too much time on Modern, but I do want to say in Stockholm, Mono White Martyr in the top 8.
Piloted by Elias Clocker.
Woof, I haven't seen that deck in a while.
That's a throwback. I mean, they got a cool card in like Archangel Avacyn. Like that's nifty.
It's true.
And, of course, the Inspector.
Yeah, I was gonna say I just like seeing Thraven Inspector back on top again. He just, or I guess G, right? There's actually just like never left.
Hollowed Barrier. Oh yeah. Put all creatures that love. Oh, cool. That's another card you have to play around. Put all creatures on the bottom of your library. Yeah. So there you go. Everyone start playing Hollow Burial. Really blow your humans opponent out. But yeah, this is I don't really see. Oh, they are playing Cleansing Nova in the sideboard as well. So that's another new card. But yeah, this is a deck that is on the fringes of Modern typically, but on any given weekend can definitely do some pretty interesting stuff and really catch people off guard. And it's a weird deck that is playing 24 creatures, but also like Day of Judgment, Wrath of God, and Hollow Burial, because these are all things that make sense. But yeah, it's cool. I mean, like it's interesting to see like that kind of show up.
Yeah, for sure.
Another like the other popular deck seems to be Blue-White Control, and that would like even when we switch over and talk about the Open, and that seems to still be like something that holds true. And that seems to have completely eclipsed Jeskai as far as the control deck to really play. And I think that makes sense when you kind of take a look at all of the decks that everyone else is playing, especially with the prominence of humans. Like that's reason why, and one of the reasons why you're playing Blue-White. I think the other reason is because it drastically improves your Tron matchup. You get to play like Field of Ruin, which is awesome, and really kind of mess with their ability to go over the top of you a bit more than Jeskai actually can.
Yeah.
We also have things like Bridgevine showing up here, and in the top 16, and then further down you even have like Hardened Scales Affinity showing up, which is sort of the de facto version of Affinity.
It has quickly supplanted it. It's definitely very popular. It's in Europe, we've seen it more in the European GPs originally. Yeah. So,
but even in it's starting to just take over.
Honestly, I don't think we're that far away from it just being Affinity. Like that's
Affinity, just the de facto build. Like I think that it is that at this point in time. I think if you look at like Goldfish, like how it's listed, I think it's technically more, but I don't know how they delineate.
Until Ancient Stirring gets banned, that's probably where it's going to be. And it kind of amazes me that more Affinity decks weren't already jumping through the hoop to play Ancient Stirrings, to be quite honest. So I know you mentioned Bridgevine. Do you want to switch to Hong Kong?
Yeah, let's do that. The other notable thing about Europe was there were no humans in the top 8.
I think they were all human, Morgan. Dear Lord. What's wrong with you?
No humans decks in the top 8.
I would like to apologize. I don't support Morgan's bigoted view about who is or isn't a person.
That's terrible. Don't be like that.
Yeah, I agree.
You're making me look bad. I don't really appreciate it much. So GB Hong Kong was also Modern. It was won by Zufei, playing Tron, defeating Bridgevine, piloted by Takayumi Utsunomiya.
I'll take that attempt. I gotta say, I'm actually surprised by that outcome. I feel like Bridgevine is so fast.
Yeah, you would just think that they would be able to just completely blow Tron out of the water.
Like that, again, who knows how any set of games could go, whatever else, but kudos either way, like to Zufei, because like that's That's a tough matchup, I think. I mean, unless I'm crazy. Maybe I just don't know enough, but it feels like a tough matchup for Tron.
I mean, I would have to. I would have to agree with you there. There is, some sideboard options. So like Grafdigger's Cage is pretty good against Bridge
That's true.
right?
Yeah, that is very true.
Some parts of their deck. Maybe not all of it, but some. And are they playing?
There's a lot of Thragtusks.
Yeah, and like 2 relics main deck. I was wondering if they had something in the side, but I guess that's what the other Grafdigger's Cage is for.
Main deck relics are real though. Like just an opener with that could be enough to get a game.
Yeah,
so
it's hard for them to race past that sometimes.
I think it's just impressive.
I would have liked to see those matches.
Yeah,
I would have liked to see
so.
how they shook out, and maybe like it's worth it to read coverage to see how the final shook out in Hong Kong. I don't know if it was actually televised. I think Stockholm was televised, but I don't know if Hong Kong was.
Neither of them were televised.
Really?
They were streamed, but they were not television.
Gosh,
like,
you know what I mean. Why are you doing this?
I don't know.
Why are you like this?
I'm just in this. I'm just who I am today. I'm just being me.
Oh, does anything else?
Morgan's not letting me be myself.
Well, when yourself is being mean to me, I don't like it. Is there anything else here in the top 8 that we want to talk about?
Do want to mention Humans definitely has it showing here. With a lot, we have a couple copies of Jeskai with a Miracle slanted one.
And a tempo one as well. Playing Figure of Destiny. I forgot about that.
I do want to talk about Sly in 16th place.
Okay.
Because it's 8-whack.
Yeah, it's Goblins.
Yeah, this is this is a little bit different take than even I've seen. Just because the most recent versions of this deck have had some number of normally they've had 4 Grim Lavamancers in the main. This version though goes a little bit different direction. It still has all the creatures with all the Reckless Bushwhackers and everything. It's got Devastating Summons, which is sweet. It's playing a Smuggler's Copter though, which is I like that. And Flame of Keld in the main.
Yeah, I saw that.
So plus Ramunap Ruins, which I think is pretty spicy. A lot of the builds of this deck have been playing like 12 fetch lands with mountains to go along with the 4 Lavamancers. But if you choose not to go with Lavamancers, then you can cut the fetches and play these Ramunap Ruins. I don't know what is better. This is certainly, like, if you look at this deck is 61 tickets online.
It's only 200 in paper.
Yeah, like that's crazy to me. And like almost all of it online is like currently Goblin Guide and Legion loyalists. And if you get Goblin Guides, then you're already halfway toward it's like the value of burn. But I think like this is a pretty interesting build. I love Smuggler's Copter. He's got Aethersphere Harvesters in the sideboard too.
Yeah.
Whoo, man, like so there's a couple different ways to go about the burn mirror. But man, Harvester is an interesting like when you're playing against burn or the red decks, Harvester is a really tough card for people to beat. Like they're not boarding artifact removal against you. Searing Blaze does not kill it, which is their normal removal spell for creatures.
So they either have to decide if they want to double up,
right?
Which is awful.
And you're just A-okay with that because they have to do that. Like they have to kill not one of your creatures on your turn. Like, whew. Yeah, I like this build, and I think this is pretty cool. And again, if you're looking for if you're looking for like, all right, I just want to like get on to like Magic Online and just play some Modern, this is your deck. This is 60 ticks. You can just build it right now.
Yeah, and it'll be quick. You'll have fast matches.
Yeah, you will just churn through things. I want to give a quick PSA before I move away from this because I did play in a PBQ this weekend.
Yeah.
I played Humans, which I had never picked up the deck before. That deck's bonkers.
Oh yeah, it's stupid.
I did things to people like playing that deck, and it was like I definitely felt like a kid who was learning to ride a bike. Where I was like, oh, then I do this and this. Oh my god! And Phantasmal Image is a messed up Magic card.
Yes.
The blue-white player that I beat, I felt so bad because I played so poorly. I played into a Terminus, like didn't set an attack when I decided to play around Settle the Wreckage instead of Terminus because that's stupid. And then still beat him when he had it to Fairy at 10. Because I had Cryptic named with a Meddling Mage. He had to Fairy, but he was like if I drew any Mantis Rider, he would just immediately die. And he had a Negate in hand. I knew he drew a Cryptic and like at least one, and couldn't do anything about it. And then I hit the Mantis Rider, and he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "I'm so sorry." Like I know it's frustrating to like watch someone just literally just like a drunk guy fall off the side of the boat, but then like swim to shore. Like you wanted him to die,
but he made it.
But I did play one Damping Sphere in my sideboard, and I sort of got punished by the fact that I've played Magic for a long time, but haven't played Modern very much recently. Like I haven't played a PBTQ in almost 6 months. I definitely wrote down Damping Matrix instead of Damping Sphere.
Don't do that.
And I got a game lost in the top 8 and promptly lost. So Oops. Congratulations to my opponent who did win the PBTQ. But oops. So Damping Sphere, not Damping Matrix.
Yeah. Damping Matrix is what all activated abilities cost 2 more to activate or something like that.
Yeah. Why would I be playing that card?
I know it's bad.
I'm going to make my Aether Vials worse.
Don't do that.
I will say that rule is still frustrating because I was told, that if I had just written down the word damping, then I would have been okay.
There's no card called Damping.
Yeah, but like, the more ambiguous I am, the safer I am. If I just wrote down the word damp, I would have been okay. I got one of them damp cards. It's so wet. It's so wet. I don't even know why I have it in this box.
It's literally ruining all of the other values of these cards.
They're not even mine. They were Morgan's. Why is this so wet?
Why is this damn card in here?
Morgan's going to kill me. Oh my gosh. So, PSA children, not Damping Sphere, not Damping Matrix. And I have to keep saying this to myself because I know I'm gonna write down Damping Matrix again in the future.
Yeah, don't do it.
Because Morgan, I'm gonna play this deck now whenever I get a chance.
Yeah,
So
okay, I see.
So you just go ahead and keep it, but like, don't use it.
No, I'm gonna use it. It's my only modern deck currently.
Okay, fair enough. Well, if you decide to get out of it,
never.
Good.
They'll ban it,
Yeah,
and that's how I'll get out of it. It's like, we're banning this.
I mean, the deck certainly wasn't unbeatable. I also drew with an Astral Cornucopia deck. That was bonkers. That guy was real cool, and that matchup was bonkers. I don't know if you know this. There's a mono blue artifact lockdown deck that isn't the Tezzeret the Seeker version. Nope. Plays Astral Cornucopia and Core Tapper, which is a mirror that you can tap to add counters or something.
Yeah.
And then it plays a copy of the artifact creature you can pay 3 to untap an artifact. Makes infinite mana. Kills you with Walking Ballista.
Yeah, you know what? I think like a lot of things that are bad relate back to Walking Ballista and just being able to kill you.
Fun fact though, we drew that match mostly because he had to like play into he had to kill his own Torpor Orb to be able to go off, and I had a Rex Sage. He accidentally countered his own Whir of Invention because he had tried to lock me out with a Chalice of the Void, but then was locking himself. So he has the Surge Node to add counters to it, got it to 5, didn't think it would be relevant again, and then tried to court for 2, got countered.
Yeah.
Because we were both there. And then Gaddock Teague locks that deck out.
They have a lot of X's in their deck, it turns out. Non-creature X's.
Yeah, he tried to cast Astral Cornucopia after I had a Gaddock Teague out, and he was like, nope. But he had two Ensnaring Bridges in play, so we were just like, all right, well, thanks for the draw.
Yeah, we're just going to stare at each other for a while, aren't we? We've done this to ourselves.
Oh, man. Anyways, so let's finish getting through these modern decks. I just want to give you that PSA. Open.
Yeah, so
Syracuse.
It was in good old New York.
The Orangemen.
Orangemen?
Did you not know that?
No.
Yeah, the University of Syracuse. They are the Orangemen.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm sure it's a storied history. Don't at me. I don't care.
No, I do not care. Yeah, you would think it would be somewhere in Florida where the Orangemen would be. But is this what?
That's your second time just being horribly offensive today.
But that's where oranges are. There's nothing offensive about an orange.
Oh, I know.
Anyway, this is a modern tournament as well. It was won by Benjamin Lau playing Living End. Unsurprisingly, beating Humans in the finals, played by Sean Dwally.
Oh yeah, that's a bad matchup.
That's not great. You can theoretically lock them out by
Meddling
Mage naming Living End, but they can just kill your Meddling Mage.
Yeah, you have to name Living End, but also Archfiend of Ifnir. Oh, and also Shriekmaw. And also Beast Within. Yeah. Oh, and also Anger of the Gods, apparently, because that's in the main too. So
it is in the main deck, yeah.
That's more than most of the time. I could have that many Meddling Mages, but not usually.
Yeah. So not necessarily a great matchup there. But Living End I think Humans kind of allows Living End a bit of a free pass because it's a deck that Humans doesn't play anything typically graveyard centric or related for the most part, and if they do, it's like Grafdigger's Cage or something like that, something you can easily cast and not necessarily need a colored mana source to do so.
I found that out firsthand. Ancient Ziggurat, bad card.
Yeah,
do not like that card.
Real bad.
Cannot pay for. Fun fact: cannot pay extra mana.
Yeah, no.
So Humans Mirror Match, you can't cast your vials.
Yeah, no.
So because you can't pay the tax on Thalia. I had a bad time.
Yeah, it's not great. I agree. It's definitely the worst land in your deck on many levels, but also allows you to cast Mana Strider sometimes, which
No, it's good, but also like terrifying.
good and bad.
Man, this open's pretty varied though.
Yeah, I think
Super
so.
diverse.
We did have a couple humans decks show up in the top 8 as well as a couple of burn decks. Actually, burn was the most represented for.
It also won the classic.
Yeah, deck in day 2, and Emma Handy called it as she saw it. It's like, hey, this is probably going to be a good weekend for burn, and it was. Burn can still have an awkward matchup against humans, but a lot of times burn could just be faster, and yeah, we really do see that kind of shine through in this weekend. We also see Hard Scales Affinity again in the top 8, led by Brandon Klein. So definitely, kind of cements that deck as being kind of a big deal. And I've seen the deck now firsthand, and it's dumb. It's real dumb. Because Mike, I hadn't actually been playing a whole lot of Modern recently. So I played it last week at F&M, and one of the players there has the deck, and I sat next to them watching his match, and it's just like, okay, so that deck's good. Good, yeah. Arcbound Ravager, still a dumb Magic card, turns out. But it's so weird how we've kind of taken things from, even it feels like just a couple weeks ago where KCI was the big thing on the block, and now it doesn't seem nearly as present in the meta, and how these things kind of wax and wane, and with Ravnica coming back and getting some potent cards entering the format, we might see things like Jund or Green Black Midrange kind of shift up in power level due to a card we'll talk about here later.
I think it's also important to agree, don't forget about humans, because there are a number, when you get these gold sets, it's really easy to get one of those,
it just sneaks in.
Yeah, because this, essentially you have a 5-color mana base, woof. So
it does not take much to be oh, okay, this card's actually pretty playable. So, anything else from the open you want to talk about?
No.
I just want to shout out 10th place Goryo's Vengeance.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a lot of decks in there. We saw even you said Goryo's Vengeance. We even had a deck which I think has been kind of on the downswing, which is Hollow One also showing up there. So, but just quickly mention the classic. Like I said, Burn One
beating Azorius Control.
So,
Green Black Tron actually showing up in 3rd place there too, which is not the preferred variant, but this is where there's a lot of burn.
Yeah,
there's so much burn here.
Lighting the world on fire.
It's all on fire.
And elves.
Yeah. Burning fiery elves. But yeah, elves showing up in I think 14th place. But a lot of interesting. We have Infect in 9th as well. So very aggressive, very aggro. Classic.
Thank you, MTG Goldfish. I would not have guessed that Lightning Bolt was the most played card in these deck lists.
And then we have the classic that happened in Syracuse. This one by Azorius Helm, piloted by Jeffrey White, defeating Death and Taxes, piloted by Dale Smith.
Nice. I do like that deck. It's a sweet deck.
Yeah. The best thing I could ever remember with Helm is Dan Buster getting killed by it from his own deck.
Yeah, I just want to say, for those who don't know, I went to high school with Dan and have known him for a long time. We played baseball together. Very happy for his current role with WotC. Sitting down for PPTQ. Again, I haven't played too much recently, so I understand that what clout I may have once had is gone. But somebody goes, is there anybody here from Northeast Ohio? And I'm like, well, that used to be me, but I didn't say anything. And someone goes, no, but there's some good players up there. And someone goes, who? And someone goes, Dan Musser plays up there. And I was like, he works for WotC. He doesn't play Magic anymore. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, he works for WotC. He did coverage for Japanese nationals the other day. Like, oh, how do you know? And I'm like, I used to do his laundry. What do you want from me? I don't know. So Dan, I know you probably won't hear this, but if you do,
Ever.
I hate you. Living your dream and still influencing people who don't even know what you're doing.
Don't even just know the myth and not the man.
Savage monster.
Yeah, well,
I'm calling everyone out today.
Yeah, apparently. Better watch out. If you ever wronged Mike, he might get you. He might get you. Today, tomorrow, you don't know when.
I get some ointment so you can avoid all these hot takes. Don't get burned.
Don't want to get burned. Get that icy hot.
That doesn't help at all. Morgan, stop giving out bad medical advice. What happened? Well, I was standing near a fire and I thought icy hot will help. apparently Icy Hot's flammable. So
I was immediately set ablaze. That's the last time I get my medical advice from a Magic the Gathering podcast.
Can we talk about the good stuff now?
Yeah, let's talk about guilds.
Yes.
Guilds of Ravnica.
Yes.
That anytime I see its abbreviation, which is GRN, I just think green.
Green.
Green. Let's talk about green.
Let's talk about green. Let's talk.
I mean, I know it's a little bit of a touchy subject for you with green, so.
Is that a colorblind joke?
Yes.
Wow. That was really offensive. That was too far.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can call me out about it later.
Everyone's attacking me today.
Oh, wait, no, you were attacking everyone today.
I don't recall that.
I don't remember this.
Don't rewind the podcast 2 minutes.
But yeah, so obviously we have a ton of Guilds of Ravnica stuff to talk about. We are going to still do our typical set review shows. That'll be probably next week, since we'll have the full spoiler.
Yeah, I think our goal here is to discuss cards with an eye towards. So we're going to be playing in the Columbus Open.
Yes.
The first week in October, which is team sealed. We're going to be team at your end step, literally, with original host Jordan Kennedy.
It's not team sealed, it's team constructed.
I said sealed. You're right, constructed. And so we it's been a while, but we get to work on a week 1 standard deck, which is honestly my favorite thing.
Yeah, I mean, you've actually had some success with week 1 standard decks.
So have you.
Yeah.
They were my week 1 standard decks.
Correct,
But no, I was
yeah.
kidding. No, you worked really hard on vehicles as well. It's not like anyone else didn't figure it out.
Yeah, it's not like anyone didn't see Smokecopter be like, oh, that card's busted in half, including WotC, so they banned it.
Yeah, nothing will make you feel less like when you're like, all right, I'm going to take this open. Man, I'm top 8ing it, and you look at the top 8 and you realize that you are the 7th vehicles list, and you're like, oh, this puzzle was this easy to crack.
A lot of people got this one, huh?
All right,
okay. Well, I thought it's like getting on a kindergarten like math test and being like, "Oh, but I'm in 8th grade." Oh
yeah,
no,
there you go.
Oh.
Yeah, and then of
I
course,
can't be proud of this.
Everyone else in that top 8 has a much more notable name than you, so you disappear like dust. You're just like, who top 8? I don't know.
I don't know. It's really just, it's 5 guys and like 3 other ones. I don't know. I can't remember.
There was that heavyset white guy. Oh, Chris Van Meter. God,
I can't even have that.
I can't even just be fat and me.
Realistically, when you're looking to kind of ruin the format, I think one of the first things you really look at is probably Manabases, right?
100%.
So with getting a sort of a mishmash of a bunch of different guilds, you do have a few like wedges and shards that kind of work out, as well as just your typical 2-color guilds. So obviously your Manabases for Golgari, Izzet, Boros, Selesnya, and Dimir are going to be better than the other guilds.
Right. You have a shock land with a check land to go with it. Like those 8 lands are going to form the backbone of it, and it's pretty smooth. So you're going to probably want to base one color or the other, at least, because we will have a guild gate and we also have tap lands. So if you really want to play 16 dual sources, you could. But those coming to play tap lands are real tough, especially for like Boros.
Yeah, they're a price.
So
and certain decks can get away with paying that price, and certain decks can't.
Right.
And I know that week 1 typically, at least from my experience, being aggressive, especially with a new set coming in and rotation happening, tends to be the avenue to go to.
Yeah, that's generally true. I will say we've come from a format where certain aggressive archetypes were so powerful that it's going to be interesting to brew away from that, because I think there's a couple other aggressive strategies that are already almost good enough that have just been sort of kept down, and it's really going to depend on how hard people are going to work to still try to play Chain Whirler, because I don't know that there's a great mana base still for it. We don't really have, without Blood Crypt, Jund or even like Naya is not going to be based red. Like Naya is possible. Like it's one of the mana bases that's pretty good, but its base is in white.
Correct.
So it's white or green, I suppose. And like it's definitely not red without Stomping Ground, without Blood Crypt. So I'm interested to see now. Mono red goblins could be good enough, but I don't know. So Chain Whirler I think is still going to maybe dictate that.
Yeah. Your base red sort of. Wedge is going to be what Jeskai, right? Because you have Boros and Izzet. So, but there hasn't been a good, aggressive Jeskai slant since Cons Block, which I miss. But I'm still playing Mantis Rider, so
gone but not forgotten, buddy.
And so I know that initially Boros is kind of where you have had your leanings, and that's mainly because of our new buddy in the Goblin variety of Legion Warboss.
Yeah,
I don't know if we've actually talked about this card or not.
I don't know.
I can't remember.
Why don't you tell the fine folks what it does?
It is 2 generic and a red for a creature Goblin Soldier. It has Mentor, and Mentor, as you remember, is when this creature attacks with another creature, you can if it basically puts when it attacks and it attacks with another creature, it puts a 1/1 counter on a creature with power less than it.
You could have just read the Mentor tagline; it's a lot smoother.
Yeah,
but
I have to like click on it and then
whenever this creature attacks,
card.
put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature with lesser power.
Yeah.
That's how it functions.
And it says at the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. That token gains haste until end of turn and attacks this combat if able. So this is very similar to another card called Goblin Rabblemaster, which is a fan favorite of many people, including 2 members of this podcast. And this card is cool. It does a lot of good things. It obviously makes 2/2s pretty much. It is a way that you can kind of look at it. So that does help. Like Mentor does help against things like Chain Whirler. But this card, like we know, cards similar to this have been powerful. And I know direct damage comparisons, Rabblemaster still does more damage.
Roughly a turn faster life total wise.
But, not having to attack with this creature is important. To get that bonus necessarily. But yeah.
You didn't attack with Rabblemaster to get that bonus either. But
yeah, I guess that's true.
Honestly, the key difference is, let's watch how this format breaks out. Like, where you had Rabblemaster, you also had things like Hordeling Outburst, and you had to be very careful with them because Rabblemaster forced you to attack with all your goblins.
Right.
Warboss doesn't. It only makes the new goblin attack
and not the other ones.
So you can be much more careful with your board, and it also allows you to play things like, was it the Goblin, is it Instigator, the 2-drop that makes a token?
Yeah.
Like, you can safely curve that into this without fear of like, oh, well, your board was okay, now I just have to throw 3 guys at it. Like, and I think it's a huge deal. Obviously, Mentor is fine too, and like when we were talking about things like Chain Whirler, the fact that this then starts to make those goblins 2/2s for later in the game is a big deal. But yeah, this is definitely where I wanted to start in the format. I think like when we had Rabblemaster, we were quick to latch onto Rabblemaster, and I think we were playing things like Mardu, and we were moving into Rabblemaster very quickly. But I think it's easy to forget how good that card was. Mm-hmm. And if you are looking at this card and thinking like, oh, it's almost Rabblemaster, like it's close enough that you should be aware.
Yeah, I think that's very, very true. It's not. You should only be fooled by that once, right? You should be. You could have slept on Rabblemaster.
Yes,
and just been like meh, but you don't get that again.
This is the only card in Guilds of Ravnica so far I've pre-ordered.
Yeah.
So again, we're looking at building decks for Standard. We don't know which one of us is playing Standard yet.
Yeah, no clue.
But I'm going to play with this card for the next 2 years. So
yeah, regardless,
I'm going to buy these.
Yeah. No, I definitely had a card in this set that was is like, oh no, this is just gonna be a card that I play. Is there anything else that we've seen so far that kind of also ingratiates that color pairing?
Well, let me take you on a Boros journey.
All right, please.
So, and then you could take me on a Golgari journey because I know that's where you want to go.
That or Celestia, but the Abzan Wedge is definitely a home.
Let's talk about the new Aurelia.
Yeah.
Because I think this card is actively pretty good, and I think like it's been kind of quiet. If that makes sense. Aurelia is Exemplar of Justice, is 2 generic red-white for a 2/5 legendary creature Angel. It has flying and Mentor. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to 1 target creature you control. Until end of turn, that creature gets +2/+0, gains Trample if it's red, and gains Vigilance if it's white. So it pumps the creature.
Immediately.
You get that as long as you play it on your main phase.
Yeah.
And then it could also give Trample or Vigilance depending. Oh, to itself, it gets Trample and Vigilance.
Yes.
But the cool thing here is, you might go, oh, it's 2/5 with Mentor. That's weird. Well, she can pump herself, obviously. Mm-hmm. So that helps with that. But her whole, like, 4-mana 2/5 flyer, like, there's not a lot of removal that's going to deal with it right now. Like...
And all the removal, the ones that do are premium.
Yeah, like you have to pay, like you have to Vraska's Contempt this. You can't cast it down. You're not going to be able, like we got the new Red Burn spell, which is deal 4 damage and exile. That doesn't do it. This doesn't trade with like Nicol Bolas, for example.
Mm-hmm.
and it really lets you get a lot of value in on your attack, and it can use Mentor to really pump some other creatures because this will have Vigilance, so you can do what you want with your other creatures. I don't know what the right number is yet on Aurelia as a 4-drop being a legendary, but I think like that I when I first saw Mentor, I wasn't sure, but these two cards have at least convinced me that as long as the card is good enough, then Mentor is just going to be essentially bonus. Because I would have played both these cards probably without Mentor.
Yeah,
but it just makes it a little bit nicer.
It's also important to note that we have a card in Standard that has seen a lot of modern play / controversy in Militia Bugler.
Yeah.
And guess what? This gets found off of.
It gets Aurelia. That is insane to me.
Yeah, that's real good.
Yeah.
So that even think about how you usually want to play a low number of legendaries anyway, and you could play 2 of these and still reasonably see them a lot.
Still reasonably see them 100%. I want to talk about integrity and intervention. So, did they give us? I realized I read an article about this, but I didn't see.
So the convention is both of them start with the same letters, and that's what they're going with.
Yeah, but how am I supposed to connect them? So integrity,
you can't. Okay. There isn't supposed to be a connector.
Well,
There's
that's gross.
Yeah.
Integrity has hybrid mana, red-white for an instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Intervention is 2 generic red-white for lightning helix. An instant deals 3 damage to any target, and you gain 3 life. 4 mana is a lot for a helix, though. When in the last format, not to be this guy, but I definitely won tournaments with War Leader's Helix at
Correct.
4 mana. Now that's 1 more damage, don't get me wrong, but the +2/+2 ability is super relevant. It can save a creature. It can activate a creature's Mentor ability to get a little more damage through. Those are the kind of combat tricks which are always, in my opinion, those little combat tricks. Think about mutagenic growth. Obviously, could be free, so don't get me wrong there. But +2/+2 is surprisingly good when your opponent isn't expecting it, and the other side of this just burns opponents out. I think this card is deceptively good.
Yeah, I actually think both of the Boros sort of split cards are pretty decent, actually.
Yeah, Response to Resurgence is interesting. Response is a cool card that can definitely deal 5 to an attacker or blocker, meaning it kills Lyra Dawnbringer.
Yep. It kills Aurelia.
Also true. But Resurgence is interesting. Resurgence is essentially a relentless assault. You get a second combat step, and your creatures all get a big bonus. And if you're playing a go wide strategy, that you get to play a removal spell that also just has an overrun attached to it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and if you are playing something like Aurelia, having 2 combat phases very very important.
Oh my gosh, can you open a window, please, Morgan?
But I definitely think there was also a new combat spell that was spoiled today it wasn't a combat spell, it was a removal spell. It was the red-white. It's target creature deals damage equal to its power to itself.
Yeah, which is interesting. Now, I don't know how much standard application that has, but I think
this is the cheapest that effect has been.
There's a couple cards that come to mind. For example, Lyra comes to mind, but also the 6/6 hexproof creature in green. If that's a legitimate problem, then that card is a really easy way to sort of deal with it. To pay 4 mana to do it, but
yeah.
I want to mention quickly Swiftblade Vindicator, red and a white 1/1 human soldier that has double strike, vigilance, and trample. Plays really well with Mentor.
It certainly does.
Also plays pretty well with that +2/+2 pump spell.
That is also true.
So something to be aware of. And then, what was the other one I wanted to say? Hold on. There's at least one more Boros card I wanted to mention. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm crazy. I thought there was. I want to talk about the 1-drop. I passed it. Goblin Banneret, I want to mention.
Okay.
Goblin Banneret is a 1-drop for a 1/1 Goblin Soldier. It has Mentor. And it has fire breathing, but the double kind. So a generic and a red, and it gets +2/+0 until the turn. This is a card that I'm going to have to test a lot because I like the idea of it, but I don't know how to play in practice. But I like these sort of, this makes me think of, what was the one that had dash?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It was a 1/1 for
it
1
was
red.
In cons,
yeah, had fire breathing, had dash. And obviously dash helped a little bit with that. But having a creature that scales so well off the top in the late game, right? Where you're just like, this is a late drop. Well, I can threaten to deal 5, 7, 8, or 5, 7, 9 damage with this is nice. And it also giving you in decks like this where you want to curve out, you want to curve a 1, a 2, a 3. Sometimes you're missing. You know what I mean? I had my 2, but not the 3.
Yeah.
Well, now your 3 maybe is another 1-drop, and this
pump
mentoring your 2-drop. So I think that is at least interesting and worth looking into. So
It's also important to note that mentor waterfalls, like cascades pretty well. So like obviously, even if you're not pumping this guy, if he's getting mentored, then he can mentor other things.
others. Yeah, 100%.
So like that's kind of the interesting thing. Like mentor scales with everything.
Right.
So if everything is constantly learning, then
Everything's constantly. They're all getting better. I don't.
if they're all improving, then yes. But I think like that is a kind of a cool thing that you can really look at with how the mechanic works. But I think like aggressively speaking, like Boros did get a lot of good sort of aggro cards. And not to mention, we still have one of the like weirdest cards, like the flip lands. We still have Path of Metal.
You have Path of Metal. You also have things like Legion's Landing.
Yeah.
Which when you're talking about a deck that wants to cast like Aurelia, for example. You know what? Yeah, please. Because if I just go turn 1 Legion's Landing into the turn 2, the Goblin makes another Goblin, and I get to flip my Legion's Landing and cast Aurelia on 3. Oh my god! You have to open a window. So, again, tokens in general, these X ones. Again, Rabble Master or no Rabble Master, Chain Whirler is still a thing.
Yeah.
And you'll have to be aware of it. But I think I like where Boros' mechanical identity is. I know that for those that listen, know that I've had a lot of success with Boros, and it's kind of where I sit. Like often is those mid-rangey-ish and those colors are aggressive. But I think when you look at the format and you know that you know for me starting points being History of Benalia and Legion War Boss, I'm pretty happy with what possibilities they are. Now they were very careful to make sure that a lot of the creatures who are in Boros are soldiers, not knights. For example, that 1/1 Trample Vigilance thing, if that was a knight. Please, but the Boros really aren't knights; they're soldiers, so that makes total sense.
Yeah. Now that's not to say that you couldn't like figure something out with knight or soldier tribal. I mean, we do have a tribal land still within the format, so maybe it's worth it to help your mana to figure out how that looks, potentially. But or you could even look at something like what's going on in Selesnya and figure like what are some of the like same tribes that we could sort of build together with, which is kind of interesting. It's not something that you necessarily look at because we're so used to like being inside of Ravnica before with check lands and shock lands and having just like bonkers mana. But there might be some more considerations you want to look at to see if there's ways you can stretch it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So let's shift. Let's not talk about Boros anymore. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about Golgari and the amazing spell that they received in Assassin's Trophy.
You mean Golgari Locket? I didn't think it was that good.
No. So Assassin's Trophy is a black and a green for an instant. It says destroy target permanent an opponent controls. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card and put it on the battlefield and then shuffle their library. Permanent. Doesn't matter what it is. If it can be targeted, it can be destroyed. So lands, enchantments, artifacts, planeswalkers, creatures, obviously, anything. Vraska done killed it. Done turned it into stone. This card is absurdly powerful. It is, Vindicate with a downside, kinda.
I had a couple of conversations about this card over the weekend playing some Modern, and a number of people suggesting that like I don't know if this is a 4 of yet in Abzan or Jund, and I'm not going to say that's immediately a 4 of, but I'm going to strongly suggest it. And people have talked about like, well, that's a real drawback though. I'm like, and that stops Jeskai from playing 4 paths. Nope, actually it doesn't ever once.
No,
like the versatility of the spell is
huge. Outweighs any cost.
I will say there's in a number of ways the spell actively upsets me, because like. I don't understand how this is something that green and black gets together. Like, black should not be able to destroy anything. Like, we had Abrupt Decay.
Creatures.
No. I mean, when I say anything, I mean, like, everything. My apologies. And, like, green getting to do that at instant speed normally has a drawback. Like, it's either super narrow or your opponent, like... So, like, I guess if you're considering the land to be the real drawback here, and of course it is. That's how the card's designed. But... it doesn't feel that bad.
No. Especially in formats where you're not playing that many basics.
Well, and I think like looking at standard too. Like again, we'll see how this shakes out. But in standard, in my mind, like standard is a format where you are encouraged to play your 4, your 5, your 6 drops. You know, Teferi dominated a large portion of this format. You know what I mean? Chandra, these things that had would cost a lot of mana. You put those investments in. So now we're saying that like this almost feels almost like going back to the Jace the Mind Sculptor check. Like,
yeah,
what happens when you get blown out for 5 mana? Oh, you get a basic land back, cool. But you spent all this time doing this. The tempo blowout is going to be crazy, and it will not take much for a black-green based deck to be very good to take advantage of this.
Not at all. There's plenty of ways. Like, obviously there are a lot of cards they're going to be sticking around from like the think of like the black green counters. Like obviously they're the synergy, like the center like post of that deck is leaving, but you still have things like Jaylight Ranger. You still have things like the 2/1 for 2 Merfolk that explores.
For Branchwalker.
You still have Chupacabra that's sticking around. You actually get another Golgari card in this set. It's like a mythic, the Lich, the 4/3.
We did talk about that.
That was one of our earlier spoilers. So
Underrealm Lich.
Yeah. So you don't need a whole lot of good Golgari cards because you already have like you have 2 Vraskas. Like you have 2 like planeswalkers seated in your guild.
Right. And I'm not sure how good Vraska Golgari Queen is just yet.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that far from being good in the right deck, but Relic Seekers we know is good.
Yes.
Like it is just a very good planeswalker.
Yeah. For sure. And I mean like this is a spell that definitely like you don't need like a builder on me or any synergy or anything like that. Like this is the green black rock like spell du jour. This is exactly what you really really want to make your deck go. And you have this complemented with like things like Vraska's Contempt, and it gets pretty absurd. And there, not to mention that with Dimir and Golgari both being in the same set, that you could figure out a way to build like a pretty good Sultai deck. In all honesty, with some of the stuff that we've been seeing in Black Green. So I'm not Black Green in Dimir. So I couldn't blame anyone for wanting to start their deck building from there and just being like, well, I want to play this. What is the best way to do this?
Right, and I'm trying to find the card. I can't get the name of it, but like, on here, you essentially get a new Civic Wayfinder. Where is it?
It's
District Guide.
Yeah,
and like when you're talking about like Black Green, which like just wants to like. I think like there was somebody wrote an article about District Guide in the last few days, like about how like Civic Wayfinder, how important it is, and like District Guide is going to be super good for Black Green, just like to have that bridge card. And I think that's something that gets overlooked. That the Golgari's like identity as far as how Undergrowth goes, I still am not totally buying that ability as something you really want to build around. Some of the cards are going to get okay value out of it. But I think that Black Green just has enough good spells that it's just going to be that, like you said, that Jund-esque good stuff deck. I mean, even it one split card.
Give target creature like Death Touch and then
status and I'm trying
statue.
Thank you. Is good, but also finding finality is also not terrible. So depending on how you're setting that up. The finality part is what 4 generic Black Green. You would put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature you control, then all creatures get -4/-4 until the turn.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not a blowout thing. Like, it's up to 1 creature. So, like, if you're afraid you're going to get blown out, you know what I mean? Like, the spell doesn't have to do that. That's still just a 6 mana Languish. Like, that's the worst thing that is. Like, so, Golgari's going to have a lot of tools.
Yeah. And there's going to be another sweeper in black.
Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
It's Rite of Ashes, or I think that's the name of it. But it's a consume the meek without the life gain clause, which it may not, be main deckable, obviously, but is still fairly powerful as a sideboard card, as a sideboard option, as a cheap way for that color combination to like clear out a bunch of tokens or a bunch of small creatures. Obviously,
I remember consume the meek actually did cost 5.
Yeah.
So like it's
this
even
is 4 mana.
Yeah, that's a huge deal. So yeah, Golgari just got a lot of tools, and I know a lot of people talking about Sultai, which I think is interesting. It is important to note that Sultai is one of the mana bases that'll be pretty good. because you'll get 2 shock lands there. And Surveil works pretty well with some of the undergrowth cards and a lot of things the Golgari are doing.
So, like, if you did want to figure out a way to make that, like, tacitly available, it also works well with Explore. Like, these are all very synergistic things, and, like, I feel you could just make, like, a generic good stuff deck, but you could also take it very synergistically and try to make a Surveil undergrowth sort of deck if you really, like, wanted to.
And to that point, can I mention 2 cards for that?
Yeah.
We want to mention Dream Eater.
Oh, Dream Eater.
I'm full. 4 generic blue for a 4/3 Nightmare Sphinx, which the art on that is amazing. Like, the art on that is very good.
Yeah, spoopy.
Has flash and flying. When it enters the battlefield, Surveil 4, and then when you do, you may return target non-land permanent an opponent controls its owner's land. So it's an instant speed Angler Drake that surveils 4. I think, it's a 4/3 body. That's a lot for 6 mana, but man... and then Doom Whisperer, which has gotten a lot of hype. It's Doom. No, it's Doom because they whisper.
It's very quiet.
Doom.
He's got all these hands.
Who keeps saying Doom so quietly? It is I.
Me. With the hands.
With the hands. 3 generic black for a 6/6 Nightmare Demon, and that's what that is.
Accurate description.
He's just like a walking whatever that tunnel from the labyrinth is that she falls down. So flying trample, pay 2 life, surveil 2.
Yeah, this card's just the upside. Like it's like a demon with like you would be like, oh, sacrifice a creature, blah 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 blah.
No,
like, all upside, all good, no bad.
One, it's definitely being pegged as like a combo enabler, which that sounds a lot like a combo enabler. You can use your life total to essentially stack your deck however you want and put everything else in the graveyard. Are there any decks that would be good for?
A lot, it turns out. Weird. It's weird.
But also it's just a 6/6 flying flyer with trample for 5 mana. This is so I don't know, maybe is that a Golgari card to go into? Like, does it go in the Sultai build? I'm not sure, but that is a legitimate threat that just like even if they're gonna kill it, it's like, okay, well, let me find the next one.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make sure I find my next threat, and I think that's people have said that like, oh well, it doesn't do anything when it comes to the battlefield. Like, well, no, but in most cases it finds the next threat, and that's pretty good.
It has an ability you can activate immediately, which is even if it gets immediately destroyed, it's like, well, I can still get some value out of it.
Let me just say, in the last standard format, it was minor, but Grand Mauve Bells Unlock saw play in the mono black deck.
Grand Mauve?
Grand Mauve.
Okay, I thought you said Grandma. Grandma Bells Unlock.
Oh, Grandma Bells Unlock. Tell me about the time you done got beaten by the Gatewatch. I don't want to tell you that story again.
I don't want to tell you that story again.
But this I think, and I'm sorry, but I think this card's a lot better than Bells Unlock.
Yeah, obviously.
Like just like same body for 1 less mana, and like that can be more cards, but this finds the card that you care about, and that's a huge deal. So this card's got to see play, right?
I think so. I especially like with the stew we got a brewing. If there's like a Sultai deck that like wants a finisher of some persuasion, like there's so many. It just feels like there's a lot that you can do. You just kind of have to like not get punished by the aggressive decks, but I think you can figure out ways around that.
Yeah, I'm gonna start with Boros, but at some point in the standard format, I'm gonna have to play Dream Eater. Like I'm gonna have to. That card, as much as I do like red white, like Dream Eater's like, I have flash and I'm a mana war. Plus you get decisions about manipulating your library.
All the things.
Like what else do you want? It's like, what else do I want?
Yeah.
So
we can kind of shift into, I kind of want to talk about just a few of the Selesnya cards.
Yeah, let's do that.
The first one that I want to talk about is one that we have had the appropriate name for. If you steal this name, you're violating copyright. TM. We own it. This nickname for this card. Again, don't make us send our lawyers that we have after you without proper accreditation.
Lawyer we have
the lawyer. The lawyer. But it's Knight of Autumn or Swiss Army Knight. TM. This is a 2/1 for 1 green white. It's a Dryad Knight. It could have never been a human knight. Because if you made a human knight, it would be busted in half, and I would love you very, very much. I would love you very, very much, Wizards.
I finally would have figured out what would have actually killed Militia Bugler and humans. And
yeah, it would have been Knight of Autumn as a 4 of. But it has this ability when it comes into play that says you may choose one. It is put 2 1/1 counters on it, so it becomes a 4/3, or you can destroy target artifact or enchantment, or you can gain 4 life. It does everything that you could ever want, and this is like one of the strongest pulls for me to be like, I just want to play like this card. Like I don't know,
forever.
I just don't know what else is around it. What else, I'm here for. But I could play this on turn 2 off of elf, and that would be fine. I could play it on turn 3. I could play it anytime. I could play it in the morning, in the evening. It is the pizza bagel of green white cards, and I have. This is the card that I pre-ordered. I have 4 of these waiting for me in Columbus.
What price did you get that at for pre-order?
I have no idea. It was cheap. It was like $3 maybe.
Oh my gosh!
I think
that seems real good.
I'd have to check, but no, this is the card that like I'm all about. Just for the sheer fact that I know it's going into human sideboard like immediately. Like this is replacing your Reclamation Stage.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's just it frees you up like so many slots. Like think about other like green white decks that just want to play like Kitchen Finks in their sideboard. It's like boom, you don't have to anymore. Like we have this, and sometimes it's like oh well, I don't need either of those effects, but I do need a 4/3
yeah,
beater.
Just need a 4/3 beater. Exactly.
Yeah, and like just slices, dices. I just love it. Just always have it with you. You never know when you're gonna need it. Sometimes you need a toothpick. Sometimes you need a saw blade. Sometimes you need a broad, knife to cut something.
Band-Aid.
Yeah,
Sometimes
exactly.
you need some icy hot. Put on that burn.
I was just naming all the things that were in a Swiss Army knife.
No, I get it. Yeah,
okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Can we talk about Trostani for a sec?
Yeah, I think this is another card that is close, but I also like. That you can also get Trostani off of a Militia Bugler as well.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I think a lot of these things were designed with that card in mind.
Which is like cool. Absurd. Like, oh well, let's just design around Militia Bugler. Like, I'm fine with it.
So this is 3 generic green white for a 1/4 legendary creature Dryad. This is Trostani Discordant because they're not talking to each other anymore. No. Trostani's 3 beings, just so you know. Other creatures you control +1/+1, so it's a lord. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink. So this actually comes into play much like Real Caracal. Yeah. And you end up with 5 power. And I guess Caracal had 7 power, didn't it? My bad. And then at the beginning of your end step, each player gains control of all creatures they own, which is a weird rider to see. And just generally this kind of thing is put on there for like Commander and stuff, but it does make me wonder if there's something in Standard that we're going to see. We do have a blue-black a Dimir or 2-sided card that has not 2-sided, I don't know, split card. There we go. That has a gain control effect on it.
Yeah.
So it I don't know.
It's not like Impulse Clutches.
Yeah, but I don't really see too much play. Yeah. We still have the Melody, right? The one that's still sees some play. Entrancing Melody. So that's at least interesting. But I do think like you get 5 power for 5 mana plus a Lord effect. You get some lifelink out of this. This itself is a 1/4. I think it's interesting. It's certainly not as powerful as the last time we had Trostani. And I'm really glad for that because, oh my gosh, that trigger got disgusting. All the life gain. Yeah.
But I like this card. I think like it's probably not, it's not as blatantly powerful as something like Aurelia is. But I think that we have in the format, we already have a couple, we have this and Benelish Marshall as ways to pump your whole team, both centered in white and, I think that you could figure out something along with the other mythic that we actually have for Celestia, which is Assemble the Multitudes?
March of the Multitudes. This wins my award for card with Convoke least likely to consistently have Convoke used to cast it.
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of decks that like you could just play like Bant Control that might just want this card.
Yeah. So this is X green white instant Convoke, and it says create X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink. People might compare this a lot to like Secure the Waste or something like that. Secure the Waste, obviously cheaper, but the creatures having lifelink is a big deal, and the fact that like the fact that you can convoke this and help reduce that cost even further is pretty good. I think spells like this typically find a way to get played in standard.
No, this is good. And honestly, what's crazy about this is, like, again, if there's a tokens deck, and we already have the tokens for there to be a tokens deck. Like, I want you to understand that, like, we're losing Anointed Procession, but a lot of the cards that made the tokens deck tick, like, especially like some of the vampire token generators, we have Saprolings, we have Goblins. Like, there's Goblins are red, but there's a couple ways we can go about this. It wouldn't take much to have the kind of board where your opponent could cast this while they were tapped out.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't even be aware. You're just like, okay, I think I've got good on my math. And they're like, oh, I'll make 3 or 4 guys by tapping my team. And all of a sudden they have lethal now. And you're like, wait. Like, what? You're like,
yeah. And especially if you're stacking that with, again, with Trostani, with, ways to make these guys bigger. With another card that we actually have, which is kind of interesting. It's an interesting Convoke payoff that we haven't seen before. And it's a Venerated Luxodon. It's 4 generic and a white for a 4/4 Elephant Cleric. It has Convoke. And it says, when Venerated Luxodon enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each creature that convoked it. So this is a new, interesting sort of way to pay off convoking a creature card. When this guy enters the battlefield, anyone that helped him out, he pays back a little bit. He helps him move. They helped him move. So now he, in turn, must help them.
When they move, he move, they move.
Yes, exactly. But I think, like, this is another interesting way to buff your team, buff your tokens, and still have an interesting way to cast a cheap creature. But we know that Convoke is has the propensity to be good, and I really enjoy some of the payoffs that we're getting for it, and how that is happening in interesting ways. I don't know if we talked about Amara or not, but that it was.
I thought we did.
We did.
Yeah.
I don't know if we actually confirmed that was her.
Yeah, we did, because we talked about how, like, she got her own 2-drop.
Yeah. So, but
good for her.
That's another creature card that exists that helps you pay off your convoke cost, because you get an immediate benefit. So even if the spell's canceled or countered, you still have a 1/1 token to show for it and stuff like that. So I looked at my order. I did pay $2.99 each for this night.
That's pretty good. Yeah,
I was literally waiting on Star City Games' website. I was refreshing it constantly, waiting for them to show up, and then checked it at midnight, and there they were. And I was like, "You're in my cart. You're forever mine."
I got War Bosses at 5, so I think it was too bad. But I do want to. So I want to make mention. So I think that, like, Selesnya with Convoke's doing cool things. It feels, granted, we're going to get a lot more commons to fill in the set and sort of give us more direction. But what we've seen so far, Selesnya feels mechanically strong. Golgari, while its mechanics is still, I think, muddled to me. Again, they could give us Grizzly Salvage this week, and I think, like, a lot of those cards get a lot better.
Well, so we forgot to talk about the I don't think we're getting Grizzly Salvage.
I know we got another common creature though, right? Is that what you're going to tell me?
No, we have a Glowspore Shaman.
Yeah, okay, uncommon. Yeah, sorry, I knew.
So black green for a 3/1 Elf Shaman, and then when it enters the battlefield, put the top 3 cards of your library into the graveyard, and then you may put a land card from your graveyard on top of your library, which you probably won't do.
I mean, if you need your land drops, you might. Which is a nice thing.
But you're probably just like playing this to be a smaller Grizzly Salvage,
right? And you can play this with Stitcher Supplier for sure.
Yeah.
But again, like, we still could get an enabler, but Golgari still feels strong with the cards that it has. Dimir has a lot of solid effects and some things we know have been good in the past. And Surveil looks to be pretty strong. I gotta say, I'm not excited for the Izzet.
I definitely think that there are some interesting cards that they have. I think the biggest disappointment for Izzet right now is their Planeswalker. I think Ral is, while he does communicate well things that the Izzet are doing mechanically in the set, I don't think that he is he doesn't feel very unique. He feels like he, again, falls into the and Vraska could be guilty of this as well.
Oh, 100%. She just happens to cost 4 instead of 5.
Yeah, it falls into the Obnixilis sort of feel of Planeswalker design.
I, I guess just my issue though, and I agree with you on that. We've gotten a couple of good spells. Ionize, for example, I think is very strong.
Yeah.
There's a 1 blue and a red for counter target spell. Ionize deals 2 damage to that spell's controller. Very simple, but very effective for what Izzet wants to do. But unfortunately, I like Jumpstart, but Izzet's sub theme is still casting instant sorceries. We get things like We Dragonauts. We do get one really sweet one, I will say. The uncommon, I think, is deceptively powerful, which is Crackling Drake. It was a blue, red for it.
Yeah.
Star 4 creature Drake. It has flying. When its power is equal to the number of instant sorceries you own in exile and in your graveyard, so it has that rider. And when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. So, like...
Yeah, that card's good.
I mean, so if Nicol Bolas is a mythic and it costs 4 mana for a 4/4 flyer and your opponent discards a card, if this thing is consistently a 4/4 when it comes into play, then it's a 4/4 flyer for 4 that draws a card. It doesn't have the backside, but its front side is on power level with a mythic. So I'm just saying, the mana cost is arguably more difficult than just Grixis is. But the problem beyond that is that the secret theme of the Izzet is casting 3 instant sorceries in a turn. There's a couple of things that trigger that they want you to cast a bunch, and they're just, again, we could get some more stuff in the commons, but some of the cards we've seen, we don't have a good, as of right now, we don't have a good burn spell that has Jumpstart. We have the Direct Current, which is 3 mana shock. We have Opt, for example, and we have Almost Think Twice with Radical Idea.
Yeah.
But you need more cantrips. You need more 1 mana things that do stuff. And so far, we're just not getting those cards.
Did you already say Chemist's Insight?
I did not.
So that's the replacement instant speed draw too, the inspiration. Right?
But yeah, but I mean that's 4 mana. Like, yeah, you want that, but like.
So did you see the new card that got spoiled today?
Which one?
Risk Factor.
I don't think so.
So 2 in a red for an instant is gonna sound very similar to a card you might be familiar with.
Oh, okay.
Target opponent may have Risk Factor deal 4 damage to them. If that player doesn't, you draw 3 cards.
Yeah, no,
So that's what Browbeat is similar.
Browbeat, yeah. Now this is instant speed
and Jumpstart. It has Jumpstart,
but
again, the Punisher mechanic. Both sides are typically what you want. I know it's not what you're looking for.
No, but I think like that card. Just reading that card, that's what my frustration with the Izzet is in a nutshell. Is that it is. I don't know. Like you have to play this game, and it's just not. Compare it to Boros is going to straightforward. It's going to attack you, right? Golgari is going to get overwhelmingly powerful cards. Selesnya is going to overrun you to the side. Dimir is going to at least have selection. Is browbeating you?
Yeah, apparently.
I'm good. So
yeah, I definitely I'm there with you. I think that the Izzet have like pretty continuously always been the guild that's like, it's never gonna be like I'm gonna build a blue red Izzet deck. Last time we really had a deck that felt Izzet, we had like Fever Visions and stuff like that.
Right.
And that was an Izzet deck. Like that felt like I can consistently play 3 spells in a turn, but I'm also like constantly putting pressure on you and drawing cards, and that felt great.
I think your cards just mattered more. And like,
yeah,
again, we still have some good ones. Ionize, like I said, is good. I think things like this is We Dragonauts is a card that has a chance to be good when you ever have that effect. I will say this amazing card name, but also I think probably close to a playable card if the Izzet deck found it. Hypothesis, which is 5 mana to draw, 3 generic blue red to draw 2 cards, and then you can you may discard a non-land card and deal 4 damage to a creature. A draw spell that can kill a creature isn't terrible, but the costs on these are prohibitive to chaining them together in a turn.
Yeah, and
I just don't know where you're getting all this time from. Your removal spells aren't effective. Niv Mizzet, which we talked about a little bit, it's not castable. If you haven't seen Niv Mizzet, Perun, it's blue, red.
No, thank you.
For a 5/5, can't be countered flying. Whenever you draw a card, it deals 1 damage to any target, and whenever you cast an instant sorcery, draw a card. Super powerful. Cannot cast a spell.
Nah,
blue, red. Is already hard enough. Blue, red is a joke.
Sarkhan can help you now. That's important to point out.
Does he have the convoke wording on him? Sarkhan can help you cast this spell.
Can help you cast this dragon. Yeah, I think that we are missing just like a few key pieces that could make like an Izzet spells deck work. I do think you need what's the pinger? What's the pinger that we had? The 1/3 that taps when you cast an instant sorcery.
Electrode.
The other one, the one that was in standard recently.
The 0/3.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, it's in Pauper too. I played against this recently. I don't remember.
I'll look it up, but I wanted to see if it had a generic name. Because if it had a generic name, then maybe like that's the card they.
Oh, maybe it's a card we get at common.
Yeah, that's the card you sneak in and be like, "This is your reward."
Yeah, maybe.
And that would make a lot of sense to me. I think it's in Burn, right?
It's in Pauper Burn. Yes.
This one says Gitu Lava Runner. How dare you?
That's also in Pauper Burn.
I know. I want the name of the Thermo Alchemist.
There you go.
That is a generic name. That is.
Yeah, maybe. I wonder if that number crunch, if that's actually
I don't know. If I had to like pick a card to be like, hey, you want to kind of push this? Do this. This is a card that is the 0/3, so hopefully it'll be able to block a little bit and still be able to pump out some damage. So, I also think that maybe they were a little reserved with Izzet potentially because. Blue Red Wizards is still good. Like it still could be a very good deck.
That's true. And again, gaining a card it doesn't take many cards that for Ionize, for example, to me is the perfect card for that deck. So don't get me wrong. You're right.
Yeah, and especially like when you basically just have Counterspell and Lightning Bolt.
That is true. But I do have to say that. Yeah, again, I have to go through here. We do have things like Goblin Electromancer. That's a wizard. That's interesting. But it's just it is more of the same that I get frustrated with, where they have to be super reserved with blue and red, getting like cantrips and things like that. But black green gets Assassin's Trophy, and that's okay.
Yeah,
and like,
I don't get it. Yeah, I see your point.
It's just a little rough for me. Like we can't have real think twice. We can have okay think twice. But Assassin's Trophy, all for you. So I think that's where I get a little frustrated. I'm waiting to see maybe we do get a nice jumpstart removal spell that isn't There's the one blue and a red one that deals damage equal to the number of instant sorceries you have. That's tentative. Don't like that one. And like Jumpstart or whatever it is. Not Jumpstart. Something current. Whatever that deals 2 damage. Like that's pathetically bad. Like give me something that we can play around with. But right now, Izzet's mechanical identity seems all over the place. And while there's a couple of good cards, it doesn't. To me, it doesn't seem like it's lending itself to a deck. Maybe that deck is Blue Red Wizards. Maybe you're right. Maybe that's just where it is. And maybe Adeliz has her chance to shine because I think a card is bonkers, but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah. One of the last guilds we want to take a look at here is Dimir, and Dimir got a good mechanic. Like
it really did.
This is again like the first time the Dimirs had a good mechanic in Surveil, and there is a lot of good spells. Like you want to talk about good spells that just have like the mechanic tacked onto them. Like this is where you want to look. Like Sinister Sabotage is pretty awesome to honestly have. It's just straight up better than Dissolve. Is that what it is?
Yes.
And then you have like Thought Erasure, which is a very powerful castigate sort of effect with Surveil, and like there's just a lot of like, oh, that's just a good spell plus Surveil. Like, oh, okay, all right, I'm in, I'm down.
They were pretty liberal with giving cards like not just like Surveil 1, but like just Surveil like 2, just like a lot, yeah.
Trying to push it,
but push it real good.
Yeah, they achieved that. One of the sort of bigger cards that to come out of to be associated with the Dimir Guild is Mission Briefing. So this is blue for an instant. It says Surveil 2, and then choose an instant or sorcery card in your graveyard. You may cast that card until the end of your turn.
Yeah,
and at the end of turn probably. So sort of like a fixed Snapcaster Mage. You don't get the 2/1 body, but you do get this added ability to Surveil 2, and obviously that allows you to put something in your graveyard if you really want to. And
this doesn't let you break timing restrictions, does it?
No,
I didn't think so.
You still have to. You can't cast sorceries at instant speed or anything like that.
But I did start looking, and this is a kind of card you have to keep in your back pocket. I'll mention like Cruel Ultimatum. You know what I mean? Like we don't have anything like that in Standard, but we got a couple. I went and looked at Apex of Power, for example. Does not work. Not great. But it is definitely interesting to start looking at expensive spells differently, because Surveil lets you put it into the graveyard pretty easily, and then you could see a combo deck running around that's just trying to cast a giant spell. So. Let alone, I think this card being good enough, because if you're playing a deck with enough counter spells and value cards, then this is just a counter spell or your removal spell over again.
Yeah.
Which is spicy.
Yeah, and like look at Snapcaster Mage in the decks that it's played in. That's typically how it is.
It's a better jumpstart card than any of the jumpstart cards. Just throwing it out there.
It's true. Yeah, I think this card is definitely definitely pretty good. I don't know if it's gonna be the bee's knees and everything that you ever needed or wanted. It's certainly not the second coming of Snapcaster Mage or anything like that, but it definitely has its benefits as far as that's concerned. So
100%.
But again, just having surveil is important. Surveil, you want that, you want to be able to target something. Oh, except it doesn't target. That's right. That's the other. You choose, so you don't get blown out.
Right. Yeah, I think like Dimir to me still seems like it's going to be support. Like I don't know if I see a straight Dimir deck, but Grixis control using a number of these surveil cards. I said Soul Tie. Esper, and then of course when we get the Azorius, like a lot of these, I think these surveil cards are going to shine.
Yeah, Azorius and Orzhov come in the next set, which really would help Esper kind of show up. But yeah, the one card that I do that we got spoiled recently is it's a card we don't have a proper translation for, but it's Thief of Sanity. It's 1 blue-black for Spectre. Flying for it has flying and it's a 2/2. It says it'll kind of remind you of Nightvale Spectre. It's whenever a Thief of Sanity deals combat damage to target player, look at the top 3 cards of that player's library, exile one of these cards face down, then put the rest into that player's graveyard. You may look at and cast that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were any color of mana to cast it.
Yeah, I think that effect we've already seen it be pretty good with Gonti.
Yeah,
it being on a 2/2 flyer is also pretty good. I'm going to lord it over my opponent that I can look at it whenever I want. I'm looking at it, and I can do that whenever I want. So, Judge, he's looking at that card. What does it say? He can do it whenever he wants. You have your answer.
Can.
I can't. My hands are tied.
Man, that's his prerogative.
But no, I think this card is powerful. We saw Nightvale Spectre be a card that was sort of surprisingly good. Now, I will say that 1 toughness is a big deal when you look at the removal spells that we have in Standard still between like Shock, Vicious Offering. But I don't think that's going to keep this thing down. It's going to see play.
It gives you like selection, which is pretty important. Because you can't play lands off of it. You have to cast a spell. So that way you don't have to necessarily worry about missing with it, as it were. But yeah, this is an aggressively costed, Spectre card, and being able to cast your opponent's spells always feels great. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to play with a Nightvale Spectre or a Gonti. It doesn't feel bad. Gonna let you know that right now.
You turn my spells against me.
Another card that we actually got spoiled recently was Unmoored Ego, which is another Dimir card. So 1 blue-black for sorcery. It says choose a card name, search target opponent's graveyard, hand, library. Opponent's graveyard, hand, and library for up to 4 cards with that name and exile them. That player shuffles their library, then draws a card for each card exiled from their hand this way.
So we had like a mixture of like Lost Legacy and all that mixed together into 1 card. I want to go back and look at the wording. Do all of those cards normally say up to 4 copies?
No, this is a new. This is so that all the relentless rats.
We have Rat Colony instead.
Yeah, Rat Colony.
Like, haha! You can't keep a good deck down.
You can only get 4. But this is important because it doesn't say non-land.
Yeah, that is true.
So you can get Tron lands, which is real good, or Valakut. Yeah. This, I mean, like you have the benefit of like Dimir not really necessarily, or Dimir-based decks not necessarily being like the best of the best right now. I mean, you still have Grixis Death Shadow or Grixis Control, but
I think about like that's standard in Modern. I think about like Death Shadow.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like they still exist, but they aren't necessarily the king of the world as they used to be.
Sure. My apologies. I guess I misunderstood. But,
yeah, I probably said it wrong.
No, it may also just have zoned there. But I will say, like, when I think about like some of the decks that Shadow does have, it struggles with Tron, it struggles with Valakut as a deck you mentioned, and having an answer to those that can also go in and get things like, KCI, why not, or these other things.
Yeah,
like it takes a lot for that card to be worth a slot and be better than something like Surgical Attraction, but it probably isn't that far off. So
yeah.
Yeah, so we talked about a lot of cards. I know we don't really want to, crush the Palooza.
No, but I mean, it's good to go deep, obviously, on some of the cards that we're excited about,
Sure.
so that we don't have to like do it again when it comes around for the Palooza. But I think like the important takeaway is there's a lot of room that's going to be happening in Standard. There obviously are a lot of powerful cards, but I really feel that you can either play those cards or figure out a way to beat them. And I don't think we've had this much flexibility with an incoming set, obviously because we haven't had rotation, but Kaladesh is leaving, and we lose a lot of like oppressive cards you have to worry about.
Vehicles are finally going to be, we have some still, but the vehicles that were pretty oppressive and are still showing up a lot, gone.
Yeah, we don't have any of the technologically advanced vehicles. We just got the run-of-the-mill basic vehicles.
We lose things like Scrappy Scrounger, which again really worked to negate a number of decks. We lose Fatal Push, which gave a lot of decks that easy answer. Like we'll do our in memoriam segment. We'll do that.
I don't think we're not like mourning any of these like losses though. To be perfectly honest,
I will miss Chandra.
Okay, fair enough.
Like there was finally Pyromaster Hands had some time in the sun, but Torch Defiance was finally a undeniably like great Chandra. Like no one could argue it.
No, that's just a strictly like good red planeswalker.
I will.
But hey, you know what? We can celebrate the red 4-drop slot being opened up to other things.
To Rekindling Phoenix.
Okay, no, you're right, aren't you?
And we have Aurelia. I honestly don't know. Rekindling Phoenix is still in a weird place. Like that card's super powerful, but a lot of the removal we were looking at is going to be exile based. Like let me Vraska's Contempt that, or Conclave Tribunal this, or whatever.
And, like, you have the new red spell, the 4 damage if it would
weird
die.
How that one works.
Yeah. Huh?
So that's a little tough there for the Phoenix.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm excited. I'm excited to be able to like confidently like put something together, and like not sure how it's going to work out.
Yeah, no,
that's exciting.
Testing for a new format's great. I honestly. I hope that when we get the next slate of SCG announcements, we get a couple standard opens back.
I hope so. I think that would really be exciting.
I'm honestly I try to convince Morgan. I don't know if he'll do it, but I'm looking at going to GP Milwaukee in November just because I want to play standard. I haven't been to Milwaukee before, so that sounds cool.
Yeah, why not?
So I'm a little excited. I'm very. The set looks awesome. I think there are a lot of people, and I don't know why I just said awesome like that. It's so like awesome. It's like, oh my god. But at the same time, like also, I think we were all, especially after Dragon's Maze, I think everyone was a little worried about what they might do with Ravnica. Would they water it down? Would they lower it? They have not. No. Like they have not. They really this feels very powerful. There was, I want to say it was Ruben Bresler posted that it was a meme. It was like the Ratatouille meme of the guy like eating gills of Ravnica and then flashing back to being a little boy with regular Ravnica.
Yeah,
like,
that was a very appropriate one. That was pretty good.
It was quite good. So,
but yeah, so that's our bit of Guilds of Ravnica standard chat. So we'll be back next week with more than likely the set review show, since we'll have the entire whole dang thing. But we all want to talk about what's happening this weekend. So we already talked about Worlds. So World Championship is happening this weekend in Las Vegas, and we also have Star City Games Baltimore, which is going to be Legacy. So if you are a big fan of watching some live Legacy, there you go. But that's going to be all that's happening this weekend, other than the Brawl Invitational. So we'll update you on that.
Say it again.
Brawl Invitational.
No, there's no N.
It's so hard.
The N's gone. Brawl Invitational.
Brawl Invitational.
It's like Dick Vitale.
I get it. I understand. It's just hard. My brain don't work that way.
I'm going to go tell your wife for the Brawl Invitational.
She'll get a laugh out of it. So that's going to be everything for this show. Of course, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Comic Town. You can definitely check them out at Comic Town Gaming Center on Facebook or worldofcomictown.com. We also want to make sure that you know how to contact us if you have any questions or concerns about the show. We have a Twitter. It's Your End Step, and when you add us, it's at Your End Step. We also have an email address. It's at yourendstep@gmail.com. And we are also on Facebook. So you can do a search for at Your End Step on there, and we show right up. If you're listening to us on your iPhone or MacBook or what have you, your iProduct, definitely feel free to leave us a review on the podcast app. You can also be listening to us on MTGcast, and if you are, check out some of the other Magic content that they have on there. We also want to give a special shout out, of course, to our patrons who are supporting us via Patreon. We couldn't do the show without you, and we appreciate your support week in and week out. I know that we recently had a giveaway for a Nexus of Fate that we will be shipping out here soon to our to one of our lovely winners.
Yeah, that's not my fault. They've been at my house, and again, we didn't really get together to record last week.
Correct.
So
But we haven't forgot about you. It will be in the mail. I'm gonna give Mike a nice little envelope to send it out in. So
man, I got work for myself.
Oh, yeah,
I done got a chore.
And I'll probably print out the shipping label for you too. Might as well. And we are going to be doing another giveaway here soon for a couple of playmats. I haven't set that up yet, but once I do, I'll tweet out the link. And again, it's going to be one for our Patreon supporters and one for our Twitter followers. So be sure to be locking in your eligibility on both. We truly do appreciate it. But yeah, that's going to be everything for us this week. You have a wonderful one, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.